Petey Beats here from Pop Turner to speak to Niko Ceci about season 2 of I Woke Up a Vampire on Netflix. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
It's crazy because I feel like from an acting perspective, you know, you show up and, you know, you've never played this character before for season 1, and then you kind of return for season 2, and maybe you know more about this character, or maybe you're still learning about this character. What's that like returning for season 2?
Oh my gosh, returning for season 2 is so exciting. And my character just went through so much development, throughout season 1 and season 2. When you see him in season 2, he's just really found who he is as a person, and he's confident. And obviously, as if you've watched season 2, he becomes a successful graphic novelist, and he has his own comic book, which is doing very, very well. So just seeing the transition from season 1 to season 2. In season 1, he was very shy, and he didn't really know who he was as a person. And in season 2, he's found himself and found his purpose. And I love to see it because it's very fun to play the two different sides.
100%. It's interesting too because you look at kind of like vampire culture, werewolf culture, a lot of that stuff in like the spooky genre a little bit. Like it's not, a scary show, so to say, but it's cool to kind of. Is it cool to work on a project where like you're working on a project where like vampires, that content that's really popular right now, is like a focal point of this show? Like, what's that like for you specifically?
Well, I remember ever since I was a kid, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, a fantasy fan. So I remember always telling my agent that I would love to work on a fantasy show. So when I got the audition for I Woke Up a Vampire, she's like, Niko, you're going to love this. So being able to be on set with, the green screen and the VFX and the stunt doubles, it was always my dream. So when I finally was able to work on the show, it was amazing. And another thing that I think is so cool about our show is really, I feel like there's nothing out there like it. It's a very unique idea. So being able to be a part of a show like this that still has that mystery element and that fear element, but for the younger audience, so they can still feel like they're being scared, but not to the point where it's like crazy.
It's got a lot of elements. Is there an element that's interesting to me? Is there an element that kind of stands out to you when you read scripts for this specifically? Like, does like the kind of fantasy aspects stick out to you the most? Is it just in general the vampire? Is it the family friendship component? Like, what stands out to you when you read scripts for this?
When I read, do you mean when I read scripts in general, or when I read the scripts for I Woke Up a Vampire?
Like for I Woke Up a Vampire.
What stood out to me specifically was how Tom and Ryan Lynch really created this entire world. It's not only vampires.
Yes.
There's the half werewolves and the mermaids. And so it was like really incorporating all of these characters together and creating its own world was what really caught my attention. And I was like, wow, this is such a unique idea. That's what really clicked for me.
Absolutely. If you ask anyone on your cast this question, they're probably going to have different answers because everyone had different days, different things their characters did in terms of kind of filming and going to camera. What was the pace like for you specifically filming this show? Did it feel like there were some days where it was really quick? Did it feel like some days were really fast? Was there like really slow? Like, was there like a consensus, or was it depending on the days?
Oh, that's such a great question. So when I was the last of the main cast to be cast.
Yeah.
So I kind of just went right from getting the role into script reads, and then we had workshops for our characters, so we were super comfortable before going to filming. But honestly, the show flew by. It just every single day I had a blast, and it went by so quickly. And yeah, I think when it hit. Season 1 went a little bit slower, and then when we jumped into filming season 2, it just flew by. Yeah. But yeah, I would say as soon as we hit the second half, that's when I really started to realize, okay, we're almost done with the show.
Absolutely. The show kind of drops on Netflix for season 1 and season 2, and it's one of those things where people from all around the world can watch the show. And I feel like you're in a unique situation because in a lot of ways, there's a lot of people watching the show that look at your character and look at you, Niko Ceci, and say, one day I want to be an actor. I love this character. It's relatable and everything. So there is that kind of, look up to kind of aspect of it. But if you think about it, you're also in that situation as well. You're learning, you're growing, you're looking up to people. So you're like in the middle. Isn't that interesting to think about a little bit?
It is so interesting. And it's such a full circle moment because I remember when I would sit down in my living room and I would look up at, the Disney Channel stars like Zendaya or like Victoria Justice. And I'd be like, oh my God, like I want to be on that screen one day. So to be in this situation is just such a full circle moment.
It's definitely like something you don't really think about much, but once you think about it, it's like a surreal thing, right? It's like weird a little bit.
Oh, 1,000%. It is very weird. It's very weird to just like scroll through Netflix and I'm like, oh, there's my face. On to the next. You know what I mean?
It's interesting too because it took a little bit for season 1 to go on Netflix, right? Because it was Canadian. It was originally on Family Channel, I believe.
Channel, yeah.
Yes, and then eventually season 1 was on Netflix. And I remember because we saw that kind of everyone was asking for it, right? Because it was available in Canada and everyone else wanted to see it in other countries. This one was a bit different, right? Where this one kind of just went on Netflix for season 2. What was that like for you?
Well, we knew from the start that it was a Netflix show.
Yes, 100%. But it didn't go right away. Like people in Canada saw it before. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It was just completely different because when it aired on Family Channel, obviously like there was people that saw the show, people that reached out to me, but when it's going from Family Channel to Netflix, it's just a completely different ballgame, a completely different level of an audience and people that are watching you. So it was definitely when it aired on Netflix, that's when I started to see the followers go up and the engagement. So it was definitely very, very exciting. And yeah, it was
because I remember when you did press for season 1 and I interviewed some of your cast for season 1 and it didn't like we knew it was going on Netflix, but we didn't know like when
release date. It was waiting.
But now it was like when you knew about season 2 and then it drops and it was like I think it dropped on like the 4th or 5th. Like it hasn't even been a week, right?
Oh, it was the 4th, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It hasn't been even a week.
Yeah.
But it's the Netflix factor, right? Like, I think it's the quickness. I'm sure you expected a little bit from season 1, though, right? Like, you weren't kind of super caught off guard.
I wasn't super caught off guard, but like, it took a minute to get on the charts. And like, as soon as season 2 dropped, the next day we were on the top 10 charts and we're already like #1 around the world in like so many different places. So it was like fans were expecting it to come out, which definitely helped the algorithms.
Absolutely. When people watch the show, there's a lot kind of to take in. And, it's really cool because it's a show where so much is happening. So, yeah, you can, like, have your phone with you and watch it in the background. But, you also have to, like, dial in and pay attention because you might miss things and everything. I'm just curious when you, in the process of making this show, whether it's, like, reading the scripts, preparing, going to camera, filming, or after, do you start being more conscious of the audience member watching I Woke Up a Vampire? Because that's the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, like honestly, I've been in situations where you never even know if your show is going to air until the day that it airs. So like when we were filming the show, we were like, oh, okay, I think kids are really going to be into this and it's going to be great. But then, there was always that little voice in the back of my head being like, stay enthusiastic, but like just make sure that like you don't get disappointed.
And take it one day at a time, which is
one day at a time, 1,000%. Because you never know. Your character could get written out of the show. You never know what's going to happen. I remember when we got the first script for season 2, everyone was like waiting to see what is going to happen.
Yeah, because like, they assume that you know everything, and that is not the case.
No, you really don't. And like there's things that happen like the day of, and they'll just be like, okay, Niko, here's a line change or here's a scene change. So it's like you're watching the show, but you're a part of it at the same time. It's very weird. It's very strange.
That is actually a really good segue to my next question, because you just mentioned a lot kind of happens before you go to camera and a lot can happen last minute. Even while you're on camera, they just make a change. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, from a storytelling acting perspective, you can look at it in like 2 separate storytelling acting journeys, right? Before filming and after filming or while filming. Or definitely. Does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps?
It feels like 2 separate journeys, definitely, because maybe, you know what? Maybe it's different for other shows, but for a show like I Woke Up a Vampire with, none of it's edited when you see the clips. And it's like, it's not, even when the producers would like show me back a scene, I would never like imagine it to look like how it looked when I saw it on Netflix or on Family Channel. So yeah, I think it was definitely two separate journeys. And honestly, sometimes you even forget that you filmed that scene. Like I have so many scenes and I'm like, wait, I filmed that. Like it becomes one big blur.
And you're trying to figure out when it was too. You're like, when was this?
Yeah, what was this? Like what? But then specifically with like the VFX and stuff, it's just so different.
Yeah. And then the group chat start buzzing. Like, do you remember when we filmed the scene?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. That's us. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, people can check out season 1 and season 2 of A Woke Up a Vampire on Netflix, which is really exciting. Niko, thank you so much for joining me. It was so great chatting with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, your Instagram account is the best way where people keep up to date with everything, right?
Yes, at Niko.Ceci and also on TikTok at official Niko Ceci.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popturnative. YouTube.com/Popturnative for previous episodes. You can catch Niko Ceci in season 1 and season 2 of I Woke Up a Vampire, streaming now worldwide on Netflix. Until next time, this is Petey Beats and Niko Ceci signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.